man has sought out answers to the many mysteries that our world offers. Through the ages, we have explained that which eludes our understanding by way of stories and myth. I'm Rusty O'Neill. Let me now take you into a world of wonder, a trip into the shadows and that which is often unseen and sometimes unmentioned. Join me now as we explore myths, legend, elusive beasts, conspiracy theories, and hauntings. You're listening to Mysterious and Unexplained. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are in the world. I'm Rusty O'Neill, and I'm here with Beth Brown, my lovely co-host. You're listening to Mysterious and Unexplained, produced by HDU Media and Sci FM Radio. Good morning, Beth. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good evening. I'm fantastic, or fan-bloody-tastic. I'll get that in before I can no longer say it anymore. We have an interesting show tonight. And so anyone who actually goes to switch off their radio, I'll know about it because Beth is psychic. We're going to. It's a very interesting topic, actually. The RMS Titanic was the largest passenger steamship in the world. She set off on a maiden voyage from Southampton in England to New York City on the 10th of April 1912. Now, 4 days into the crossing, at 23:40 on the 14th of April 1912, she struck an iceberg and sunk at 2:20 the following morning. Now, this resulted in the deaths of over 1,517 people in one of the most deadliest peacetime maritime disasters in history. Everyone knows the story of the Titanic. It was popularised by several movies. Now, we have Matthew Sandman Kelley and William Brower here from the Society of the Dead, D.E.A.D., which is Direct Evidence After Death. And they're an organising group behind what they've called the Titanic Endeavour Tour. The expedition is intended to be a group effort among many paranormal research groups, and their goals are to obtain the first recorded EVPs from a site which has never been explored in a paranormal sense. Now, of course, this world contains many mysteries, ranging from the mundane on down the line to life-altering. These mysteries entice the mind and inspire us to strive forward to unlock the knowledge that so many of us hunger for. What drives us to seek that which is unknown? And the answer is quite simple: because a mind that does not seek knowledge does not grow. Now, joining us today, as I said, is Matthew Sandman Kelley and his second officer, which is William Brower, and they're going to be leading a project to visit the site of the Titanic. Now, welcome to the show, Matthew and William.
Oh, thank you for having us on. It's our pleasure.
Well, definitely. Good afternoon, Rusty.
Well, guys, this is something which is very, very interesting, and in fact, I've never heard of it. You intend to collect EVPs. First off, why don't we start off? We'll get you, Matthew, to tell us a bit about how you got into the field, and you as well, William, and then we'll get on to this very interesting topic.
Well, I've been a team leader of Society of the Dead, D.E.A.D, Direct Evidence After Death, for coming up on 10 years now. I had been listening to another paranormal show, and I'd heard another group speak about, how one can go about recording EVPs. I'd heard a couple more from the same group, and I said, I've got to try this. This is incredible. I mean, to actually hear the recorded voices, of the dearly departed. It's like being reborn. Mm-hmm. So we got some basic recording equipment, went to an area that we thought at least would be very highly paranormally active, and it was. Recorded our first EVP, and it was incredible. I've been hooked ever since. It's been my life's goal, my life's ambition. We went to a cemetery that was had quite a local history, and toward the end, I had announced to any of the spirits that may be in attendance, we've enjoyed the time that we've spent here, and we will be back in the future to speak with you again. And on the tape, right after that, there was a female voice that said, "I'd probably be gone." Yeah. And I have never heard that voice again. I have to wonder where she went. But that was my first EVP, and it was absolutely unbelievable. And I've been hooked ever since.
Right. I must admit, the collection of EVPs, and Beth and I have both spoken about this at length, and we've talked about it on quite a few shows. EVP seems to be the easiest thing to gather, and when I say the easiest, it's not really that easy, but some of them I've heard have actually made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. I actually got some EVPs from a cemetery myself, and usually when I walk in, I'm not a religious person, so I don't see white light, I don't pray or anything like that. But I am quite respectful. I walked inside the gate and said, who I was and what I was there for. And when we went back over the tape later on, we heard this little girl say, "Welcome, come in." Now
isn't that incredible? Doesn't that make it all worthwhile?
And that was what people would call a Class A. It was very clear. And funnily enough, went back there a couple of months later. The grave of a young child, a young girl, was very close to the main gate. It's an old pioneer cemetery, so it is very interesting. Some of them I've heard, I've gone, oh yeah, but there have been quite a few EVPs that I've listened to that have left me wondering. And, I can't really say I believe or disbelieve in a post-mortem existence, but these EVPs that I've heard, the ones that I have not discounted, certainly lead me to believe that there's much more to this world than we really understand.
Well, I agree completely. I mean, I'm not religious either. I am an atheist, and a lot of people that dumbfound them. They're like, how can you possibly be an atheist and believe in life after death? Well, it's quite simple. I mean, simply because you do not believe in God does not mean that you have to believe that we simply wink out of existence at the point of death. I mean, there is an existence. And I feel that through EVP research, in my mind at least, it's proven. Now, that, EVP doesn't prove it to everyone, but it proves it to me. And, everybody asks me, well, what are you doing? You know what? I'm not out to prove anything to anyone. I'm on my own little path of knowledge, and, what I discover is for myself. Now, I put everything out there that I do uncover, as it were. And people can believe it or they can discount it. I don't care. I know what I believe. I know what's out there.
I think that's what it comes down to, Matthew, is that I've been researching the paranormal for well over 25 years, and I've come to the conclusion in the last couple of years that you can't prove or disprove it. It's a negative. So it comes down to personal belief. You either believe it or you don't believe it. And
right. People will, they'll accept it or they'll try to debunk it. And they're willing to do what they wish. I know what's out there. It's, nobody could convince me that spirits don't exist. It's impossible. And my mind is made up because of what I've experienced, what I've recorded, what I know exists. And if somebody doesn't wish to embrace that, that's fine.
Beth, you've collected some interesting EVPs over the years, haven't you?
I certainly have. That's actually the first thing that I came across as far as suspect data goes, and it was completely by accident. I didn't even consider myself a paranormal researcher at that point. Would you like to hear it?
Beth, what would you say is your most compelling EVP or most stunning?
Probably that very first one I got. This was back in the late 80s with an old cassette recorder. I was doing an interview to write an article, and I was interviewing a woman in an old farmhouse that dated back to about the 1760s, and it had been used as a Civil War field hospital. And she was explaining to us all these grisly things that happened there, and it was the middle of July in Virginia when all of this bad stuff went down. And she's describing how surgeons were performing amputations and having to throw limbs out the windows out back. And at that point in the conversation, you hear a man's voice cut in on the tape, and he says the stench was awful.
Isn't that incredible?
And this was, I wasn't looking for a voice to come through. I had not asked any questions, but we were talking about the house being haunted. That was the purpose of the interview. So ghosts were the topic of conversation, but certainly not being asked to participate. And that's what really started the ball rolling.
Well, yes, man. To a degree, it's good to get a Class A like that because that means that the spirit actually wanted to be part of the interview.
Exactly. Unfortunately, the EVPs that you sent me, I haven't got them set up. I didn't have time to set them up, which is a bit of a shame. But we are here to talk about the Titanic, and this is a subject which absolutely fascinates me because I've looked at a lot of the old reports, the investigations into it, and I've always been a bit of a Titanic buff myself. I mean, I watch the movie so often, but don't tell anyone, but I actually cried a couple of times. But,
I've never seen the movie.
I mean...
No, I was going to say, no worries there, Rusty.